I've listened to countless stories that I can relate to, and that really helps me out. So, if you're out there and you're trying to pivot your career, just stick to your guns and make sure that you just give yourself all the chances. Don't deny yourself. Don't say I can't do that or I don't think I'm good enough for that because you are, and you just have to apply yourself.
Hello and welcome to the Pybites podcast, where we talk about Python, career, and mindset. We're your hosts. I'm Julian Sequeira.
And I am Bob Beldebos. If you're looking to improve your Python, your career, and learn the mindset for success, this is the podcast for you. Let's get started.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This is Julian still, and I'm here with our guest today, Luis Palacios. Luis, welcome, man. How you going?
Hey, thank you, Julian. It's an absolute honor. Yeah,
That's high praise. I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
it is. Yeah.
So everyone, as per the intro, Luis is here to tell us about his career journey into tech and all the amazing things he's done, but also that he's just a longtime community member for Pybites. So it fills me with a lot of pride and joy to have him on the podcast. It's very exciting. It's been a couple of years, so I'm very excited. So to kick things off, Luis, introduction. Go for it.
All
Who are
right.
you? What do you do? What's happening?
Yeah. So again, my name's Luis Palacios. I live in Southern California, and I work as an IT analyst at the Scripps Research Institute. So that's the day job, and then I have some hobbies. I like to rock climb. I like to play music. I like to skateboard, and just kind of keep that part of my brain going because I'm doing all the tech stuff at work. So yeah, that's kind of my short introduction there. I think without boring you guys too much, that's kind of the short of it. Yeah.
Well, the thing I'll give to that is that I only just before we hit record, I only just realized that when you say rock climbing, you actually mean up a rock face, like
hmm
mountains and things. I thought you meant like indoor rock climbing, bouldering, that sort of stuff. So I was a bit thrown off. That's pretty cool. Before we dive in, what's the most challenging climb you've done? Is that how it works?
It does work like that. I would say off the top, it would be there was a 1,000 foot climb in Tuolumne. And yeah, that was probably the most challenging just because logistically, you figure a few things out. It was my first time going up that high.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge, but just the same, you look at something that big and you go, how am I going to get up this thing? So you trust your partner, and then your partner trusts you, and you guys get to work.
I didn't even anticipate that answer, but I'm already seeing comparisons to coding and success and all those things, the mindset side that I won't jump into that now. I'm tempted, but I won't. That'll be
Yeah.
another time. All right. So look, thank you for jumping on. Thank you for sharing that and for being here to sharing your story today. The amazing thing about your career, Luis, is that it's so inspirational to me with the stuff that you've done, where you came from to where you are now, and how it doesn't matter as long as you have the right mindset, you can achieve anything, right? You could just push and you'll solve problems and get there. So, without ruining the story, I'm going to hand over to you. Tell us the journey that you took. What was the job you were in before you came to meet myself and Bob with Pybites and everything? What were you doing? What was the dream? And then how did you get to where you are now? Go for it.
Right. So I was working some blue collar jobs. So I was working in landscaping when I decided, that I wanted something more. I was just getting paid a low wage and didn't have any benefits. So just kind of had to put my foot down. And I basically had this thought to myself where I told myself, I feel like I can do a lot more. I feel that my brain can take on a little bit more challenging things because I was just kind of mowing lawns, using weed whackers to clean up spaces and things like that. I decided to pivot and dive into coding and programming. What's that? And so I just made a free account somewhere and just started learning like really, really basic stuff, and then decided like this is what I like. I want to try to continue with it. Moving forward, I got a job as what we call in the States a custodian, which is basically something like a groundskeeper or someone that, helps to maintain the facilities of a school. Once I got into there, I think it was shortly after I joined Pybites and really started digging into Python a little deeper. And I kind of had this parallel thing where I was learning about Python, and then I was also learning about basically just like cloud and what that means, and kind of, what do people do with the cloud? What is the cloud? So, that's kind of where my journey started. And when I decided, hey, I want to pivot, I want to get into some of these things I find interesting, and I think I can create a better career out of this.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. I'm always blown away by that story. I love it. So you had the custodian role when we first chatted. That's what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And you've then moved into the IT sector since then. So the first thing you did while you were on that learning path was you discovered us somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't remember. How did you stumble across Pybites? Do you remember?
I was listening to Talk Python,
Okay.
and you guys were a guest on there.
Oh,
And I was like,
nice.
oh man, yeah, these guys have a program that I might be interested in. So
Oh, cool.
I just started looking into it from there. And then it was funny because I remember going in to like try to sign up. There was something, I can't remember exactly, but it was like book a call with Julian. I was like, really? This guy's going to like talk to me? Okay. And so I did it. And yeah, and then we just kind of went from there. And you introduced me to some of the concepts and things that you guys were looking to do with the program and to help people like me. And yeah, it was great. I was like, okay, I'm sold. I want to invest in myself.
That's so cool.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for booking that call. I actually think that's where a lot of the imposter syndrome starts. People are like, oh, I don't want to book that call. It
Right.
makes me nervous. I don't feel like I'm ready. I'm not, and I'm like, it's just a coffee chat, right? Maybe we should change the title to have a coffee chat or something. But that's amazing. So you've obviously you jumped in, you took that plunge, you had the confidence to say, screw it, I'm gonna book the call, and then you eventually jumped into the program. I remember you
Hmm.
saved up for it and you jumped in, both feet in, you just went all into it. So what was it that helped? Well, and this isn't supposed to be like a pitch for the program, but it's
Right.
it's more so that there was a lot of mindset in the program as well, right?
There was a ton of mindset, and especially, I hate to tie it back to what we were talking about at the beginning, but it kind of works because you look at how am I going to build an application? How are we going to make something that works? It was really nice because what the program taught me was that you sort of just take these little chunks, or you start with something and then you just keep building off of that, and eventually you're going to end up with this body of work. And that was an important lesson for me because it really helped with my future projects. Any project that I do now, I don't know how it's going to get done sometimes, but it kind of gave me confidence, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Cool.
And that's huge, and I that's translating to my job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
No,
stuff.
that's super cool. And so you were developing your Python skills, you were learning these best practices, and most importantly, you were building the confidence to be able to tackle future problems. Because, like Bob and I, we always say, we don't want people to rely on our coaching forever. The point
Mm-mm.
is go through the coaching and then be confident enough to tackle things yourself later. So that actually is amazing to hear that, even now couple of years later, you are sitting there and you're still able to break things down into the chunks, which I liked hearing about with your rock climbing as well. And I always
Yeah.
tell people you do this all the time with other, skills and hobbies and things that you do, like playing an instrument. You break things down to just single notes.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge takeaway. You can transfer whatever skills that you have developed, and they really do transfer into this field. It's amazing. I've just seen it over and over and over. And I think that it's really going to help, make me more successful in the future. But it's just finding your lane and finding, not only what interests you, but, what makes sense for you to get into if you're looking to change your career, or if you're just looking for a new hobby. But for me, it was looking for a new career. So yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
grateful.
No, yeah. Well, you did all the work, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, you earned it and you worked your way there. So okay, moving on then to the next logical step of this is, with all these skills and this confidence and this, proof that you can do it, that you've proven to yourself by building an app and coding and showing that you can work with Git and all these different things. How did you land the job, and what job is it exactly? You mentioned it at the
Right.
start, but are you
Right.
able to give a little more detail?
So an IT analyst is a fancy way of saying that I work at the help desk, which is totally okay. So the role is IT analyst, which is a fancy way of saying help desk.
Yeah.
And what I do here is I help people with all of their computer problems. This can range from networking issues that I then have to kind of gather a lot of information and then escalate to the network team, or it will be random things with applications. It will be random things with hardware, so computer screens and, I need a mouse, I need a keyboard, that sort of thing. But I find it really interesting, all these other problems that I'm running into with how applications interact with other applications, how people's accounts and profiles are managed in an organization. You start to build into these really just bigger, complex systems, and you start to learn more about that. Even though, I hate to say it like this, but even though I am just at the help desk, this is a great starting point for someone like me, someone who didn't really have a lot of experience in tech before this. And so I'm really getting, it almost feels like a fire hose. It's a little bit more manageable, and you definitely just learn a ton. And so I think I'm in a crucial point where, as I mentioned before, I'm just trying to kind of find my lane and try to figure out exactly how I want to focus as far as this role goes, and kind of what I might be doing moving forward. So
no, that's amazing. And just kudos to you, man, because it's not easy. And I've got commentary, of course, on what you just said. But before I jump into that, I just want to ask you, this might be a loaded question, but had you not gone through that coaching and built up that confidence and some of the tech skills and things that you needed, would you have ever considered even applying and looking at a role like this?
I honestly don't think I would have had the confidence. This is going to sound really funny, but I feel after having gone through the program and trying to building those applications and trying to work through a lot of the different walls that you just naturally run into, I kind of felt like a help desk position was going to be cake. I thought it was going to be super easy, which a lot of parts of it is, but parts of it are. But it definitely gave me a confidence boost to be like, hey, like I can figure these things out. I feel like my soft skills are good enough that anything technical I could definitely learn, and you can just hit the ground running with that, because that's kind of what I'm finding, that a lot of hiring people, that's what they think. They think, if this person has soft skills, they can talk to people. Well, we can teach them the technical stuff, so let's hire them. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And to support what you're saying and just reiterate, I know how you said it. You were saying like it's just a help desk role, and I did that with quotes for everyone who's not watching this on YouTube. But man, that's where we all started. The greatest people I've worked with in my career have been through these logical steps into the IT sector. Very few and far between people I know in coding roles and so on have not been in a role where they had to learn the full stack, where they've learned what it means to support infrastructure, to do help desk, to work retail, to support people with the simpler computer problems, and I think that's the foundation of fantastic customer service, fantastic communication skills. And it's what makes you a better developer, because you understand the big picture. I actually think people who go straight from, I might not make friends with this comment, but people who go straight from, say, university into a developer role, and where they're just focused on a code base and nothing else, they kind of miss that magic, and then they kind of have to learn it separately or through some situation, something hitting the fan, something negative that happens that forces them to kind of learn it. But when you work your way through the IT sector like this, by starting with help desk, which might move into an infrastructure role or networking engineering or something, right? You can even go straight into development from this, right? As you build your connections and contacts, it's a wonderful starting place. And it's actually super important, because you understand now the products that you're supporting. You understand the customer, what they want, what they're expecting, whether it's internal, external, different expectations. It's awesome. I loved my help desk time, So have you had any experiences that you've really enjoyed in the role?
Oh yeah. I mean, one of the most enjoyable things is when you find someone's having an issue and they tell you what it is, and their hair is on fire, and they tell you what it is, and in your head you're like, oh my God, this is gonna get fixed in about 2 seconds. And you go in and you do it, and then you see the look on their face, especially when they're researchers, they're scientists, or they're doctors. Yeah, you see the look on their face and they're like, thank you so much. And then also they feel kind of dumb because they almost feel like they could figure that out for themselves. But it's really nice to help people, and maybe kind of how you feel like you lift us up in the program. I kind of feel that at the help desk where I'm supporting these scientists doing like really important research. And so it makes me feel good to help them get past these little problems, so that they can continue their work. And so that makes me feel good. So that's probably the most enjoyable thing, is just knowing that even if it's like a mundane thing, like, someone needs a mouse because they forgot theirs at home. Yeah, that it just feels good to be able to support people. You're part of a good cause or a bigger picture, or it's okay to be a smaller gear in a bigger machine. But yeah, I think that's one of the most enjoyable things, is just kind of getting that reaction from people.
That's
And
so
then,
cool,
yeah.
man. I love that, and I know exactly what you mean. I miss it, and they must, the gratitude they have must be so high because they're stressed out, they're freaking out, and these are contacts. As I said on the podcast I recorded with Bob earlier this week, the people that you interact with, that you help, that you support in any way, whether it's something as simplistic as, hey, here's a spare mouse, or
Mhm.
they're locked out of something and their permissions are broken and you've got to fix it, or whatever it is, they're going to remember you for that, and
Mhm.
that's now a contact and a connection you have. And not that you should do it for the benefit of getting something in return, but you never know when that might spark something, right?
Right. And but that's just how all this works, isn't it? Is,
Hmm.
you meet people in your career and you just start to network, and you start to form these relationships that they might hit you up later in life, and you can offer them an opportunity, but hopefully it can be the other way around too. So I think that, that's what it's all about, is just you get in there, you help people, and then you just make the connections where you can.
Yep. No, I love it. So let's jump into the Python side of things, right?
Hmm.
So you still code, but you love to
Hmm.
code for yourself. Do you get much of an opportunity to code in the role?
In the role, not so much. I've
Mm.
been looking for little things to do, little automations to do, but we're a little bit shorthanded. So I find myself just grinding through these tickets, and I don't have a lot of time to work on those sorts of things. So I have to go home and just work on my little projects and
Mm.
scratch my Python itch there mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that because that's exactly what we encourage people to do. So, not knowing that, this was not a leading question to my
Right.
commentary, but if you can't do it at work, and this is a message for people who are listening and saying, "Oh, I don't get a chance to do it at work. My role doesn't have to do with Python," and that's
Mm-mm.
fine, right? So the catch is you go home and do it. So big or small, or is customized to you. Is there anything you want to share? Or anything you're working on that's kind of interesting?
I think so. The last thing I worked on was basically it was a command line utility that I'll just open a command line and I like to run it. But there is a Python framework called Beware that I'm a really big fan of. And I used that to create a user interface for this command utility. And then you can write code to like basically tell it, hey, I want to click this button and I want it to ask me where I want it to save this thing, or, that sort of thing. So I've been having a lot of fun just kind of getting like a minimal viable product, just like some garbage code that actually does the thing, but it doesn't look great or anything. And then I'm having a great time just kind of iterating over that and like
Mm.
creating branches to do different features and like do all these things. So that's what I'm doing at home right now, is just working with like little useful things that I'm interested in. And then I'll just try to like program something to make it useful. I've been digging into, this whole AI revolution that's happening. I'm just trying to understand as much as I can. And if I haven't built anything yet or tried to tinker with anything, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that. And I do find it interesting, having making a personal model or something that learns off of data that you want it to learn off of locally or something like that. Those things interest me. So
Yeah.
haven't built anything yet or dived into that, but yeah, it's just kind of things on my radar. Yeah.
That's where you got to. I love hearing this because we just talked about on the podcast the other day that we're looking to create a Pybites AI, like an LLM, but it's the only data it's fed is just Pybites stuff,
Yeah.
so that we can give it to all of you as PDMers and former PDMers as well. Like if you want to know about query Pybites about anything, just
Exactly.
ask it and it'll come back to you with whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
So
instantly a
yeah.
great project. I love the
Yeah.
sound of that. Yeah.
You should
That's
get
cool.
involved, man. We'll
Hmm.
chuck it on GitHub, and we'll get you in there, and you can see how we're working on it.
That
No,
sounds
no issues.
fantastic. Yeah, that sounds
That'll be awesome.
fantastic. Yeah.
Um, no, I love that. That's fantastic, and that's just reiterating that whole thing about scratching your own itch, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to be working with it every day to code something. What's something interesting that you would love to see come into existence? What's something that you bothers you at home, or is manual at home, or is annoying, and you could
Yeah.
just automate it. I think that's great. It's a great lesson and reminder that that's how we should all be coding, because you're kind of like a magician when you know how to code. You can just solve things out of thin air, you know?
Yeah, it feels like that. And it's funny that you mentioned magician because I was listening to someone talk about this where they wanted to stop using their keyboard, so they just have their mic and they're just basically like whispering command like code into their mic. And their partner was just like, "What is this black magic that you're trying to conjure in your office?" I just thought that was hilarious. So that's
That's so
little
cool.
side tangent there, but I thought that was funny.
I like that. Hey,
Yeah.
we're an eccentric bunch in the
Yeah.
tech sector. I like that.
It's great.
All right, so let's dive into some tips. Okay, so you've made a successful transition into the tech world. You've got a lifetime in the world ahead of you. You'll be pushing for more Python work. But what kind of tips at this point do you have for people when it comes to mindset, lessons, behaviors, whatever? Getting to this point, what do you have for people?
I would say for mindset, one thing that never fails to feel a little bit scary, but has always brought me to the next level is just to dive in and to get your hands dirty and just accept the hard things that are in front of you because you're just not going to know everything like ever. And so you just have to kind of cultivate that mindset of like, okay, like this is what's in front of me and this is what I'm going to do to try to figure it out. So that's one thing I would say, because even today, I've been at my job I've been in the help desk for about 2 years,
Hmm.
3 years maybe, and like 2.5 years. And so basically, I'm still finding things like sometimes they're simple, but I'm still finding things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how do we fix this?
Hmm.
So anyways, that's one of the biggest tips I can give. And then even if it's small increments at a time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, try to work on something or have something that you're working on that's not your job and it interests you, because that's going to keep that fire going. And at times it's going to ebb and flow, but yeah, you got to kind of keep that going because you want to keep practicing, you want to keep your mind kind of sharpened for those more technical things.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I've been trying to do for myself, is just even if it's 10, 15 minutes, doesn't matter, just try to work on something if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good tip as well because so first of all, I like that idea of, pushing through the difficult things. The hurdles are always going to be there. It doesn't matter how high successful, whatever you get, you're
Mm-mm.
always going to have something difficult in front of you. That's a great point. With regards to just giving yourself that little bit of time every day to focus on something different as well outside of what you're working on during the day or your regular hobbies, I think is important in our field as well because there's new tech every 5 minutes. There's always a new library being launched. There's a new product coming out. There's new technology. There's new everything, and it's very easy to feel left behind very quickly. So I think that's a point I'm going to take because with running Pybites and all the things happening in life, it is very easy for me to be like, what are you talking about? What's that? When I meet with people and they're like, oh, I'm working on this. I said, what are you talking about? So yeah, giving yourself, just even dedicated time to just study up and see what's going on in the world of tech and tinker with a new product. So Beware, right? I touched it a very long time ago, probably 2019 or something like that. But I haven't looked at it, and that means 5 years. So
Right.
I'm sure they've made heaps of changes. I think the owner of it, Russell, I think.
Russell Keith McGee.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So I remember meeting him at PyCon once, and I think that would have been the last time I played with Beware. So I'd love to see what the team's done with it, what the
Yeah.
community's done with it. So
Yeah.
that's going
No,
to be
it's
my
cool.
15 minutes today. There you go. No, I love it, man. That's fantastic. And it shows that, underlying all these points that you've made, there's just this growth mindset of not sitting on your laurels, right?
Right. And another one, maybe one last tip I would give. I'm coming to find that I learn really well listening to things and
Mm.
I think something that's really, really helped me is sort of sitting down and curating a playlist of podcasts. I know this sounds really funny, but podcasts are really great because depending on which ones you're listening to, if you're new to something, it can really teach you about the culture really fast. And it can kind of give you these guideposts of like which direction or what rock you should look under or what direction you might want to try to look at. I can't tell you how huge it was listening to several different tech podcasts, and they're all things that I'm interested in, or things I might be interested in. And it's just given me a quick, like it's kind of like a hack. Like it just gives you a quick insight to the culture, the tech, and just
Mm.
the things that you're interested in, like real life things. So I think that's a huge one for me, and that continues to serve me.
That's awesome, man. And when I think one of the challenges with, consumption of things like podcasts and even reading books and all those
Hmm.
things, it's when people,
Yeah.
one of the biggest excuses, I'll say excuse, I'll be blunt and critical. One of the biggest excuses from people is, oh, I don't have time. So when do you
Yeah.
squeeze it in and how?
Yeah. So everyone's going to be different, and I totally appreciate that. But for me, when I was working my blue collar jobs, so landscaping and then pushing a cleaning cart around a school for hours, I would often listen to podcasts while I'm doing my work, because not that it was necessarily mindless, but I can just push a lawnmower for a half an hour and listen to a podcast, and like you're kind of multitasking, right? Or when I'm driving home from work, because I have to commute sometimes an hour,
Mm-hmm.
definitely that's a great time to do it then. Yeah, just pretty much I try to almost layer it onto simple tasks that I'm
Mm,
already doing, like folding laundry, or like putting your laundry in, or something like
yeah,
this, where you can kind of layer another task onto something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
No, no, I'm with you. Same here. I do it while doing finances. No, I'm joking. In fact, I'm listening to one right now while we're
uh,
recording. No, I do. For me, it's in the car sometimes, but mainly I'll listen to it while, cleaning the kitchen. I'll
hmm.
listen to a podcast, or watch a, YouTube podcast, whatever, in the shower. I'll do it at
Okay,
these
yeah,
random times during the day. I actually quite like in the shower because I'm just completely diffused, you know.
right.
It's pretty cool.
I'll
And then
have to
when you
try that.
turn,
I haven't
yeah,
tried that yet.
well, just make sure you don't turn the camera on when you're doing something. That's
That's a good tip.
all
To freak some
right. I
people
think
out. Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's a nice way to end all of that. What's next for you? The question Bob and I are constantly asking ourselves is what's next? What's next? What's next?
Mhm.
So for you, what's next?
So, I'm not an expert, but after spending 2.5 years at the help desk, I am looking forward. I am trying to, yeah, I'm trying to figure out again, like what lane do I want to sink into, and really just start digging deep. I feel like that's going to be really helpful just to focus, career wise. I'm really just looking to apply for a couple jobs, a couple different types of jobs, not just kind of like help desk or sysadmin. I'm going to do things that are adjacent to that, but I think that's the next step for me, is deciding, what's adjacent to my current path, and figuring out kind of what are the next best steps to take a step to go into that direction, essentially. Because I'm finding I am struggling with that a little bit, but I think that's very common. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just like you said, you just got to keep moving. And so that's kind of what's next for me, is just kind of picking my direction a little bit better.
Yeah, picking the lane you want to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know what? You're exactly right. This is a common thing. This is everyone. This is me. This was me like 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is everyone I know has this thought of like, well, what is next? And do I want to spend the next 10 years doing this? Do I want to spend the next year doing this? What do I actually enjoy? Do I change my career entirely, my entire industry? What is it too late in my life to this? I think people are questioning that 24/7. And the point you make is super important, which is just keep pushing, just keep going. Don't let it cripple you, don't let it slow you down. Obviously, give it the thought it deserves, but sometimes you just got to make a decision. You just got to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And you got that experience. You get something out of it.
Yeah, and
So
I think you bring up a good point is like you just do it. You can always choose something else in the future if it's not working for you. And I think I need to remember that because sometimes you might find yourself just kind of like, oh, that's not quite what I want, or not, that's not quite it, or that's not. So yeah, I think
yeah.
just yep,
Well, so many
digging in.
things, so many things in the tech sector, gone are the days of everyone in roles in like a factory role, the industrial revolution type roles, right? Where you were trained to be an operator of this and that's all you did. And you couldn't have any other skills almost, right? It
Right.
was very difficult. Now with the internet and AI, and there's so much you can do to have multiple skill sets across different fields. And it's exciting because it means you can make these pivots every couple of years if you really want. No one's going to limit you. Life's what it is now, and that's one of the benefits of it. With all the other things that come with it, that's difficult at the moment. But we won't dive into that. But yeah, look, Luis, it's such an inspiring story hearing your transition. Now, I know you're the biggest imposter when it comes to this story. You're like, nah, man, it's nothing, nothing.
The
Nah,
imposter syndrome hits very hard when we start going into that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah.
but it is very inspiring, and I think it'll inspire a lot of people out there to be like, yeah, it just comes with the mindset to push. That's it.
I hope so. Yeah,
Mm.
this podcast and many others have definitely inspired me. I've listened to countless stories that I can relate to, and that really helps me out. So, if you're out there and you're trying to pivot your career, just stick to your guns and make sure that you just give yourself all the chances. Don't deny yourself. Don't say I can't do that, or I don't think I'm good enough for that, because you are, and you just have to apply yourself.
Yeah, that's that's such a cool quote. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that at the front of this podcast when it's done.
All right.
I
That
love it.
sounds good.
All right, last question. We ask this every episode. What are you reading?
Currently, I am reading Wiring the Winning Org.
Ooh.
And this is a book that it basically is a mindset book. And it kind of talks about the characteristics and qualities that a really good organization has to empower the people that are a part of the organization and to set people up to win. And
Mhm.
I say that, you're getting all the tools that you need. Your organization's providing all the tools that one would need to be successful. It's kind of things around that, but it has more to do with I think their kind of like slogan or something is like, like agile and this and that got us halfway there. But this book goes in deep to talk about more of what can be done. And it's a
Yeah,
really good book. And it was written by I'm forgetting who it's written by, as two people, but they're both very smart and very good at what they do. And it's just super interesting.
that's cool.
As I dive into career stuff, that's a book that I'm kind of using to see red flags, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. Yeah, be educated on those before they happen. I love that. Well, yeah, what
Hmm.
we'll do is we will add that to the show notes so people can give it a look. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm not going to share a book because I just shared it on the last podcast episode. I'll
Okay.
still sitting on my desk from 2 nights ago when I recorded Factfulness. So,
Oh, interesting.
uh, yeah, 10 reasons we're wrong about the world and why things are better than you think. So,
Okay.
perfect
Yeah,
timing
I'll
that
have to
it
look
showed up.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes highly recommended. I've seen it in multiple places, which made me go, all right, fine, I'll read it. I'll give it a
Hmm.
look. So, got it. Oh, it still has that new book smell. Hang on.
Ooh,
Everyone, listen to me smell this book.
gotta
Mm,
love it.
it smells. All right, Luis, any parting word? Actually, you had a great parting word. I'm not going to put you on the spot. So, thank you so much for being here. Finally, it's been months. We've been toing and froing about talking about this. It's great to finally get it done. It's been an absolute pleasure to date because this is, it's not like I'm going to say we're never going to talk again.
No,
Um,
no.
Having you in the community, seeing your story, your inspiring words, the way that you interact with everyone, it's just wonderful. So, thank you so much. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. We're done.
All right. Thank you, Julian. I appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. To hear more from us, go to Pybites/friends. That is pybit.es pybites.com/friends and receive a free gift just for being a friend of the show.
And to join our thriving community of Python programmers, go to pybites/community. That's pybit.es/community. We hope to see you there and catch you in the next episode.